Migrants continue to cross the border illegally in large numbers, the feds catching and releasing. And it's the cities and our local government leaders who are left to test and in some cases quarantine them.
Channel 5's Rudy Mireles joins us from a bus stop in Brownsville where many of those migrants are dropped off. And Rudy, what can you tell us about the migrant infection rate?
Well, Christine, the migrant infection rate, according to the city of Brownsville, is about 7.05% since January 25th when they started testing these folks coming over. If you want to take a look behind me, this group over here of individuals, they're not part of that Remain in Mexico program. They're actually part of the catch and release program, or what some nonprofits, they like to refer to these individuals as interior arrivals. But right now there's about 75 of them in this little area at the Brownsville bus station. About half of them, maybe more than half of them really are children, but that would mean about 5 of them test positive for COVID-19. And down at the other end of the Brownsville bus station, there's a little quarantine area for folks that have, and there is a family of 5 sitting right down there. So that averaging is kind of working out here today, but it's all happening as the city of Brownsville tries to keep residents and migrants safe as they cross the border, while the state and federal governments continue to disagree over policy.
Last week, Governor Greg Abbott refusing funding from DHS to test incoming migrants.
The entity that's in charge of retaining, providing testing, and quarantining any migrant who comes across the border is ICE. The Biden administration refuses to talk about ICE.
Texas Department of Emergency Management Communications Chief Seth Christensen telling us today the state has provided 40,000 rapid tests to areas like McAllen, Laredo, and Brownsville. The tests sent, as DHS says they hope that Governor Abbott will reconsider his decision to reject DHS's agreement with the Texan local authorities. The fight between state and federal governments ongoing as cities like Brownsville rely on nonprofits, NGOs, and more to test and quarantine migrants. It also leaves them with little authority, from detaining migrants positive for COVID.
At that point, if they choose not to stay, there's really nothing the city can do to control them from leaving. And we monitor it as best we can, but we can't prevent some people if they leave.
To even forcing a test.
And I'm sure if they so chose not to, I'm sure they could, but nobody's refused any testing up to now.
Since January 25th, 210 migrants have tested positive for COVID-19, a 7% positivity rate for the nearly 3,000 people. In comparison, the state averaged nearly double over the same period. But the number of positive cases in migrants so far not a concern for Mayor Trey Mendez.
I think that a lot of people have kind of really sensationalized some of those numbers as being a threat. In my opinion, it's not a threat at this point.
Now, another reason Trey Mendez is not worried about the numbers is because of the capacity levels that they've seen here at the bus station since January. They're averaging around 150 migrants per day, but they have the capacity to expand up to 250 if needed. But either way, it's much lower than the numbers that they saw prior to December 2019's Remain in Mexico policy, when they were averaging about 400 per day before that happened. Live in Brownsville, Rudy Mireles, Channel 5 News at 6.